Hello. Today I'm going to talk about the HM Bridge mod that Cephas has. When in combat against enemies within one ring, hit rate is plus 15% and crit rate is plus 15%. Now this is kind of good when you counter in like all of Frida's crit bonuses, especially when using Glacier. So we're gonna go to my guild because there are a few people with different Glacier builds, and we do have a guy with a full HM Bridge unit, and we're going to compare it with a crit rate and a crit rate dodge Frida. So what we're going to do is we're going to test it against a single enemy and see how much damage we can do in 3 shots, and then we'll compare the two. So we're going to start with this one first, and then we're going to move on to the next one. So let's head to the testing grounds.
The battlefield.
All right.
Such pure
So
ecstasy.
I'm gonna begin the test. I will not come back and I will not say anything until both tests have been displayed, and then I'll come back and talk more about this mod. Enjoy.
Fear none, gotta stand tall too many times. Bust down a new Jacob, just too many diamonds. Like, what you gonna do, baby? You too damn fine. Let's run it up. They don't wanna see us in the playoffs. 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 I could see y'all play out. Y'all boys gon' lose, it ain't no doubt. Can't use my name for no more clout. If y'all wanna win, just follow my route. Shorty rollin', shorty tryna get it rollin'. Young and grindin', you gon' get it. Put them peas up in the stoley. You gon' drive 1,000 miles till his pockets keep on growing. I be skating all the ice on my neck like a goalie. When she with you, yeah, shorty, she pursuing me. Would hate if I was you, yeah. We the best to do it, baby. We the best to do it, we the best to do it, baby. Got a hat trick, that 3 shorties on the daily. My mom gone, I just crashed a new Mercedes. Took a picture with a not a think she famous. It's bye-bye, little baby. I'm in the trap ballin' like Jordan, like we in the 80s. In the field, youngest don't brown like Brady. Catchin' players, always 50K, what they gotta pay.
Okay, I'm back, and now I kind of want to talk about what we just saw in the test was from a Frito with 100%. We didn't really see much of a like a massive damage differentiation. I will note that the first Frito did have a backpack on compared to the one with HM Bridge. So there is a potential for the HM Bridge mod to be far better than what is being showcased in this test, and you should expect that. However, I do think it's a very slept on mod despite not having a backpack on, because without a backpack it was still somewhat doing very close damage to the Frito we were already showcasing. So as you see, it's at 82%. Now, do keep in mind, if you did have an HM Bridge mod, that would be 97%, which is pretty crazy. Plus, you'd also get the plus 15% crit from Cephas's HM Bridge mod, which, if we do attack, it's 5,683 is what you saw right there. I'm gonna be real honest, I think if you had the HM Bridge mod on Twilight Fang, you would probably see a far higher damage cap. So this is why I think the HM Bridge mod is overall better on Twilight Fang than it is on Glacier, and partial why I think that is for Glacier, there's just far better mods to put for more damage. I mean, a 25% raw damage mod is just gonna outpace crit, and it's also gonna outpace hit rate, because whenever Glacier attacks, it already has the flurry attack for the plus 60% of health. Okay, so I'm going to show you something very interesting with Glacier's Surmount mod.
Think before you act.
If you look over here, it says 91 plus 9%. Now this is counting when they attack flurries. So I'll show you right here. So now the target is below 60% health, so there won't be a flurry. It now goes to plus 5%. But the reason why the HM Bridge mod would not really be that effective is if you attack a second time. It's at 99 plus 1%. Now, why is this happening? It's because of the instability stacks right here. So after seeing everything, my final thoughts would be that the Cephas mod is a very heavy slept on mod because most units can't typically get 100% hit rate, especially at end game. Usually at end game, 100% hit rate is not really ideal. In most cases, it's more like 85-ish%. Like what you typically saw for Twilight Fang. So the Cephas mod starts kind of becoming more useful at the end game because hit rate, due to level differentiation at the end game, hit rate becomes more of an issue, especially due to how different the levels are between you and the enemy, and also due to the hit rate of parts. But if we're looking at Frida alone, the Cephas mod is actually surprisingly really good, and it's far more useful to put the Cephas mod on Twilight Fang, only because Twilight Fang typically already has a lower hit rate than Glacia. So if we're going to compare Frida Glacia and Frida Twilight Fang, if we're going to put the Cephas mod in any of these two characters or any of these two builds, I would prioritize placing Cephas mod on Twilight Fang, only because Twilight Fang already naturally suffers from low hit rate. Glacia doesn't typically suffer, and if it does suffer, it's able to build it up fairly quickly due to the fact that the Surmount mod kind of acts like extra accuracy. Now you could add Cephas mod and then increase the flurry strike and the amount of bullets from the flurry strike that are hitting. However, I don't think you need to do that, and I think you kind of lose out on value when you could be placing other things onto Glacia. So between Twilight Fang and Glacia, I would highly suggest putting it on Twilight Fang, because if you are using Glacia and you are using Charge Up Shot, having Cephas mod guarantees that you always land as many shots onto the target to prime Charge Up, so you can actually use Twilight Fang's ability, which is that extra shot, so that you can get refunded back that 1 AP that you have used using Charge Up. Because if Twilight Fang's hit rate is too low, you're not going to get the AP back from Charge Up. So if there's any of these two characters you want, it's going to be Twilight Fang with the Cephas mod. However, I don't think it's only limited to Twilight Fang, as later in the end game, Cephas mod somewhat becomes more reliable for close range characters that use shotguns. So I would say that you might want to start stacking up on Cephas mods, or just at least one pair of Cephas mods as mods, to be able to put it on either Twilight Fang or Glacia, or on another mech that might be lacking accuracy, because surprisingly it's fairly good, as you just seen, between a Glacia without Cephas mods and a Glacia with Cephas mods, and you can kind of see that it's kind of close even when the first build did have a backpack and the second one didn't. So that's maybe about like 10 to 50% extra damage if it did have a backpack on. I think the Cephas mod acts kind of like maybe a 10 to 20% extra damage and can be very comparative to just outright raw damage. However, it really depends, because if the character doesn't really have crit to begin with, then the Cephas mod starts to lose its value a tad bit. And I think the reason why it does so much damage with Glacia is because Glacia is already stacking on crit, and it tends to be usually in ideal range due to load rate, which already granted the plus 15%. Yeah, now I've reached the end of this video. Now, do let me know in the comments if you guys think this mod is slept on. Do you sleep on this mod? Do you use this mod? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Do you agree or disagree? Well, if you do, leave those in the comments. And if you also agree with what I am saying, also leave those comments in the comment section, as I do read all my comments and I also do reply to them. I'll be heading out. You have a great day.